Ok. Vamos. Va a haber un queue del carajo, pero... Solo falta que se haya caído el server ahorita. Era de esperarse. Me bota por completo. Ok, de nuevo. This is to be expected. It's lunch, it's evening when everyone's leaving work and getting home and getting ready to play for the first time. It's to be expected. Ok, pasamos. Unable to obtain character data? Normal. Perfectly normal. Ok. 5293. 5293. Wow. But damn. And that's gonna stay a while. So I wonder how long will this take. ¿Cuánto va a demorar esta cola? De esos 5293 que no se está moviendo, pocos van a salir. Poquísimos van a salir. ¿Cuánto demorará? ¡No! Lo tengo tan alto que no tengo puesto los audífonos y lo escucho como debe de ser. Paciencia. 4886, ya bajamos de 5200 a 4800, bajamos 400 más o menos. Which seems like it won't. Oh, Jesus. Ni siquiera se conecta el... Ok, let's go. Right click. Oh, well, wait, I see my character. Paciencia, Patina. Ahí está. Ahora sí. Ok. The next ship to sail. Horse Chestnut Weapon Coffer. Alfino is feeling the need to take stock. Sagasite, do you have some time to talk? Yes. I would like to gather everyone in Dawn's Respite and together assess the situation in which we find ourselves. Let us take stock of the facts, shall we? The crisis at hand began with the sudden appearance of ominous towers in a multitude of locations throughout the world. We have since learned that said structures were brought into being by an organization known as the Televoroi. The Televoroi's stated purpose is to recreate the final days of eons past, an apocalyptic event that would result in the destruction of all we hold dear. Already have these towers of theirs been the cause of untold suffering. Countless innocents kidnapped and imprisoned, their fate perverted for primal summonings. And unless we find a way to deal with the corruptive aura surrounding the spires, we can't even get close enough to rescue anyone. Those shielded with the blessing of light seem able to resist being tempered, at least. But after what happened to Arenvold and Fordola, we need to be very, very careful about how we proceed. Yet while these threats close to home are of paramount concern, we must lose sight of the situation in Garlemald. As you know, the Telephoroi are under the leadership of Fandaniel and one other delightful fellow, Sinos J. Galvos, the Crown Prince and our dear friend. To date, he has reclaimed his old body, murdered Emperor Varys, and plunged Garlemald into an even deeper pit of chaos. The capital has probably seen the worst of it. For a good while there, it saw the bloodiest fighting in the War of Succession, but that has since changed, and in troubling ways. Uringer. During our reconnaissance, the air was not once rent by the barking of cannons or the cries of discord. 'Twas an eerie fog of silence which did blanket that ruined city. The inhabitants appeared to have been tempered, and with nary a word spoken did they labor to transform the place into a soaring edifice born of nightmares. If they were indeed made thralls, it seems safe to assume that these events too were orchestrated by the Telephoroi. An army of primals is awful enough, but in light of recent developments I fear it is only the prelude to an even greater catastrophe. We need to devise a means to counter this threat, and quickly, before our allies are overwhelmed. We will find a way in Sharlayan, I'm sure of it. Master Fortunault's comments regarding the final days were curious to say the least. The forum knows more than it is letting on. Sorry to interrupt. We have just received word from Mistress Krile. She says that arrangements for your visit have been finalized. You are to head to Limsa and board the next ship bound for Sharlayan. And on arrival, present yourself as associates of the students of Valdesian. Come to assist with the Order's restoration. The arrangements may be settled, but what are your thoughts? They must race at the prospect of returning home after so long. I am eager to see it, of course. Of course, we should set off at once. Then I'll accompany you to the docks. You need at least one person there to wave and cry and wish you a safe journey. Nice new music. So I need to go to Limsa. Ooh, it's a lot of people. The frame rate is gonna blow. Excuse me. Okay. Everyone's here, which is good because I have already paid for your passage, and the fee is non-refundable. The ship for Sharlayan should be pulling into port soon, so please follow me and have all your luggage close at hand. I haven't heard this song in quite some time.
They've almost finished loading our cargo. We should be ready to depart right on schedule. Or so I'm told.
Excellent. 'Tis nice to have a smooth beginning to one's journey, at the very least.
It's funny. Master Louis Soir came here on a ship very much like this one. And now, years later, the street urchin he befriended that day is bound for his mentor's homeland. With his mentor's grandchildren, no less.
Aye. 'Tis upon... Thou hast matured much in the intervening years. Wert thou not caught attempting to relieve Master Louis Soir of his purse scant moments after he made landfall upon this dock?
Oh, really? Now that's a tale I'd like to hear.
That's a new animation, that's cool.
Be your first visit to Sharlayan, Sir Estinian? Sir Estinian?
Are we strangers newly met? Why this stiff formality?
I, merely meant it as a professional courtesy, since we are now colleagues in an official sense.
I'd rather you dispense with the sirs, especially in private company. Or I'll be forced to respond in kind, little Lord Alpha.
You've made your point, Estinian. Painfully well.
Better.
Aww.
Are you all right, Tataru? You seem positively distraught.
Distraught? Me? Don't be silly. I think it's lovely that they get to see their homeland.
They're really polished animations. They do tiny little movements that they...
It's just... we're trying to thwart the schemes of an army hellbent on destroying the world. And, once again, I have to stay behind and worry that this is the last time I'll get to see my friends.
I want to promise this, but I don't know. This is the right answer, I know it. I'll bring them back safe and sound. I promise.
I'll hold you to that.
Ah, good. You're still here.
Holy Balder.
Hori! Kultine! What brings you all this way?
We're to assist the Maelstrom and the Kobolds with a lunar primal operation, so we thought we'd see you off before heading to the tower. Flamine and the others wish you all a safe journey, and promise that they'll look after things here until you return. We will too, of course. Aye. We, your fellow Scions of the Seventh Dawn, will do our part to ensure the end of the world won't happen on our watch.
We're set to sail! All aboard for Sharlayan! It's time.
Then we must delay no longer. We will contact you the moment we learn aught of value. Wish us luck.
Have a safe journey, and please, be careful.
And so you venture forth unto the unknown. A fate beyond the horizon that cannot be divined. A future undefined and in flux. In uncertain times, naught but the simplest words of wisdom will suffice. That which lives is destined to die. Love leads to loss. Every beginning has an end. Treasure every moment, every step of your descent.
It's Emmet.
And there, in the depths where souls and stars rest, find your truth.
We go from Linsa. Old Sharlayan right away? No ghost dungeon in the middle? Why?
Feel. Think.
The day has barely dawned, my fellow earlier riser. Though we're hardly alone in that. Envious of those still sleeping soundly, no doubt. Called out to you, you say? I've heard nothing myself. In any case, I dare say the sea air will do you good. Why not join the others on deck? Sharlayan should be coming into view at any moment.
I have questions and observations. Oh, hello. Hello, mysterious lady.
My voice yet reaches you. I am glad. Hear, feel, think. And thus do we meet face to face at last. My warrior of light, guided by the crystal.
Stupidest of things. 3 stupid words. So, okay, yes. That was Emmet Selk. I don't know how or why he's narrating, but he's the narrator. Second, I'm the freaking warrior of light. I have saved this world several times. I have saved another world. Well, okay, so they didn't know that. And I'm made to sleep on the floor of the ship. And third, we suspected as much, but this is Heidelin, but the music. Ah, damn it. Both of these options are very good. I mean, why now, Heidelin? Yeah, why now? I can trust your words no longer. That's also valid. Those are both good options. Why now? And you are primal. Why now? Okay.
After your sojourn in the First, I believe you have your answer. You have gained an understanding of what I truly am, what Heidelin has always been, a primal.
She has beautiful eyes. Yeah, but understanding that you're a primal doesn't make things better. It makes things worse. It begets the question that King Thordan asked, what am I?
Zodiac was created to forestall the apocalypse which threatened the ancient world, and I was brought forth to bind him. Yet 7 times now, those who would orchestrate a return to that bygone era have rejoined a shard to the god I had sundered. The greater his strength grows, the swifter does mine own diminish. The power to draw your mind into the rift betwixt is no longer mine to wield. Yet though it taxes me sorely, I dare not leave these words unsaid. Even bereft of my guidance, you and your companions have accepted the burden of this star's troubled past. A conjunction has begun to form, an intertwining of your time and mine. Wheels shudder and turn. Conflict looms, monumental, which will decide the fate of this world and all life upon it. When you truly understand what is at stake, and your journey has prepared you to surmount the insurmountable, then shall I honor the promise made in another time, another age.
What? What?
Cast your peepers to the fore, folks. Sharlayan's just over yonder.
I will not keep you further. Your traveler's heart must yearn to behold this unfamiliar land. We shall meet again, and soon.
Fireflies things. I should report this.
Oh, what a fine morning. Still a bit stiff though.
And a good morning to you too. Taken a look at the island already?
Then let's go. Let's go. Might still be room in the prow if we're lucky.
Ah, the sleepers have arisen.
Oh, music!
There she is. Good old Sharlayan.
Oh, I see it.
Home. Home at last. Well, maybe not in Father's eyes, but we'll manage on our own, if we must.
You do know you're not alone in this, don't you?
Indeed. 'Tis as Sir Estinian said. Forget not the comrades who boarded this ship at your side, I prithee.
Thank you, my friends. We are ever grateful for your steadfast support.
Upon arrival, we will be disembarking into the heart of Sharlayan proper. There is no greater concentration of wisdom in all the world. I am confident that somewhere within that center of knowledge and learning, we will find the answers we seek.
So good. Reminds me of that.
Sharlayan, the solitary island nation of the northern seas. Where under the watchful gaze of Thaliak, patron deity of scholars, academics hoard all manner of knowledge and secrets. Once, they deigned to accept foreign students into a distant colony maintained in the Dravanian hinterlands. How swiftly they abandoned it once the first Garlean boot set hostile foot on Alamegan soil. So averse to the prosecution of war, these men of wisdom, your would-be allies.
The Northern Empty, Old Sharlayan. Sharlayan.
I thought they'd never let us off the ship. What's next then? Entry applications?
Hasn't Sharlayan all but severed relations with foreign powers? Those of us without direct ties, myself included, may be refused outright.
'Tis true that, as a nation, Sharlayan only forms trade agreements with a select few neutral countries. But from a practical standpoint, an island cannot afford to be overly strict with its borders, especially not if that island's people are wholly devoted to the accumulation of knowledge. If one submits the proper paperwork, with satisfactory evidence of identity and intent, then foreigners may be granted entry.
May.
Quite. So let us be absolutely clear on these points before we proceed.
There it is. That's...
The immigration officer will ask for your affiliation and your purpose of visit. Considering Sharlayan's views on intervention, I strongly suggest we avoid any mention of the Scions. Krile has laid the groundwork for us to act as associates of the students of Baldessian, and our ostensible reason for being here is to aid in their order's restoration. here. It might expedite our progress should an actual student be seen at the head of our little group. Would you mind leading the way?
Of course. The immigration offices were this way, as I recall. Shall we? Greetings. We've just arrived and are eager to make our way into the city. Would you be so kind as to process our entry applications?
Certainly. I see by your mark you are an Archon.
I am. Grahat here of the Students of Baldassian at your service. I was assigned to an Eorzean survey team, but have returned to assist with the reformation of my order. My associates here will provide additional support.
Very good. I have paperwork detailing your group and its scheduled arrival for today. And it seems some few of your companions are also Archons. If you'll step forward, we can process those applications first.
Ishtola rule.
See how it glows? That list is etherically linked with the citizen registry kept in the main repository.
I've confirmed your status as Archons and amended your travel records accordingly. Welcome home.
Has there ever been another NPC that has, what's the name of this in English? Nail painting? Nail polish? Nail colored nails? I don't recall any right now, and it caught my attention.
Now, who do we have here?
Oh.
Alphino Leveilleur.
Oh, yeah, pago.
And Alisae Leveilleur.
Your applications have also been approved. Having said that, the streets are abuzz with talk of how House Leveilleur's lord disowned his young progeny. And while such personal circumstances constitute no reason to deny you entry, I urge you to avoid exacerbating your present situation. Times are quite troubled enough already.
We shall keep that in mind.
These last two are not Sharlayan natives, but you will find their credentials are in order. An application was made in advance.
Name and occupation.
What's my occupation? Sakase Luxalu, adventurer by trade, artisan. No. Modest. That's modest. And that's exactly what I'm gonna say. I'm the champion of the Earth. I'm the champion of bloody Earth.
And it is a title well earned, I can assure you.
El fanboy.
An adventurer by trade is what your documentation indicates. No mention of this particular title. Self-appointed, I take it. Either way, your employer seems willing to vouch for your character, so I shall, albeit reluctantly, grant you entry. Champion. And you, sir?
Estinian Varlino, formerly of the Order of the Knights Dragoon in Ishgard.
Formally, at least. And what, pray tell, is your profession now?
Krile.
If you'll allow me. My associate is a mercenary, hired for his strength at arms. Surely you are aware of the dangers we often face on our forays into the wilderness.
Mistress Baldessian, if you insist on sponsoring his entry, then so be it. But while I appreciate that desperate times call for desperate measures, I find your choice of company concerning. Be advised that even a single misstep may have severe repercussions for your organization.
Wow. Everyone's so strict here.
I have every confidence in my chosen company, dear and trusted comrades that they are. But I thank you for your concern.
Krile, it is good to see you.
Likewise. Long voyage notwithstanding, you all seem none the worse for wear. There is much to discuss, but this is hardly the place. Let's be on our way, shall we? Oh! Welcome, friends, to Sharlayan.
As your mercenary, I should hope my welcome includes a generous salary.
Well, I had to say something, Sir Taciturn.
Oh dear. Oh dear, frame rate went to shit. I am unaccustomed to fabricating lies on demand. Why should it matter how I earn my living? Here we are at last, the great city of Sharlayan. You may have noticed some similarities with the Crystarium, yes? In fact, Oh, but we really should tell Krile have her say first. We can continue this conversation at another time. You are doubtless eager to take in the sights. Not to worry, the city is not like to vanish before we finish our mission. Allow me to extend unto thee my warmest welcome, Sagasite. May the wisdom of my homeland aid us in our endeavors. Even allowing that the years I spent in the first passed here in the blink of an eye, the city feels untouched by time. I'm fine, honestly. Better to be waved through with a stern warning than be denied entry after all. That was about as awkward as expected. Still, we are here now, and that's all that matters. I'm glad I spotted your ship coming into port. The officers are born bureaucrats and sticklers for detail. In any case, you may relax and take a moment to get your land legs back. The next ship to sail, complete. Old Sharlayan new to you. Krile sweeps the scions with a speculative look. I had thought to launch directly into an explanation of what I've learned and how we might proceed. But this is Sagasite and Stenian's first time in Sharlayan, and for the rest of you, a homecoming that was long overdue. You must have places you wish to visit and people you're dying to see. Therefore, I propose we postpone our agenda so that you all may have sufficient time to recover from your journey and get your bearings in the city. Once you have settled in, we can reconvene at the Valdesian Annex. How does that sound? This is a fine suggestion. We may not be welcome at the Level U estate as such, but I should like to nose around the neighborhood all the same. I am equally untethered, as it were. There is no particular place that my kin call home. Still, I would not pass up the opportunity to reacquaint myself with the city. Likewise, a quick tour of the old haunts might even yield some useful gossip. The annex was west of the Aetheryte Plaza, wasn't it? I shall join you there anon. Yes, we'll see you there. I too have places I would be remiss in not visiting forthwith, by thy leave. What of you, Stinian? My services as a guide are yours for the asking. That won't be necessary. Until we reconvene, I prefer to wander as the wind takes me. But I could... Oh. Well, Raha, would you like to join us then? You have been gone for quite a while, and this would be the perfect way to refresh those dusty old memories of yours. Oh, of course, if you will have me. Come, Sagasite, Sharlayan awaits. Oh dear, his enthusiasm is infectious, isn't it? After you, my friend. I am more than content to follow your lead. Oh, nice. Party members. All set? Then let us be on our way. Our first stop, amusingly enough, will be the last stand. It's a cafe on the west side of the harbor. Discuss the storage facility. With all the unusual wares coming and going at all hours, I expect the assistance of an intrepid adventurer will be highly appreciated. I see no reason why you couldn't undertake any tasks which pique your interest. You have been cleared by the immigration officials, after all. I look forward to the day your name is celebrated in Sharlayan, but the same way it is in Eorzea. This place is called the Peristyle, and it is the first stop for cargo unloaded at the docks. You'll find the usual necessities for daily living and other inputs vital to running an island nation, but also supplies that further Sharlayan's pursuit of knowledge, namely large quantities of books, specimens and samples. Sorting these stacks certainly seems to keep the attendants busy. Okay. What the hell? Mammoth. Damn, this place is big. Now that is a sight one could hardly forget, the great statue of Thaliak. As a student of Valdesian, I was usually quartered on the Isle of Val, but I would gaze upon the scholar's wise features every time I returned by ship to the city. This path leading out towards the sea is known as the Thaliak Stoa, so named for the statue of the scholar which stands at its end. As you know, the Sharlayan people prize the accumulation of wisdom above all else. Thus, when Thaliak was chosen as our patron deity, it was more a matter of pragmatism than belief, an alignment of principles as it were. We may have honored him with a rather impressive sculpture, yes, but our faith is not so restrictive as that of, say, the Guardians. Individual Sharlayans can, and do, worship the divinities of their choosing. And here we are, the last stand. I may have mentioned this before, but although our research into nutrition and food preparation is quite extensive, the average Sharlayan tends to regard season and flavor with a certain indifference. How can I put this? The food is... it's bland. As encapsulated by our infamous Archon loaf, the prevailing sentiment towards cuisine is dietary value first and taste a distant second. There was one pupil at the studium, however, who could stomach the school's insipid meals no longer, so he quit his lessons and poured all his savings into building a proper eatery. And so the last stand came to be. It is, as the name implies, the sole dedicated outpost of fine dining in Sharlayan, the one and only bastion of the culinary arts in an isle of otherwise mediocre fare. That's blunt. I seem to recall their burger being hailed as one of the most impressive items on the menu, not that I ever had the pleasure of eating one myself. Because you were a typical Sharlayan when it came to cheap and convenient, Raha. But surely Tataru has since taught you how to appreciate a well-prepared dish. We should all stop in when the time permits and sample the cafe's delights. Shall we press on? The stairs to the side of the cafe there will take us up to the Aetheroid Plaza. An unusual shape, isn't it? I assure you, however, that it's a perfectly functioning aetheryte. Remember to attune yourself before we move on. Now, being the diligent tour guide that I am, I should make mention of the Confluence, a research facility located on this very plaza. Its much vaunted discoveries are the reason Sharlayan stands at the forefront of teleportation technology. In deciphering the underlying principles of Allagan aetherites, it allowed us to understand and reconstruct what was essentially a lost art. And off we go to our next destination. Our path leads northeast to the Agora, Sharlayan's largest marketplace. Welcome to the Agora, where you can find wares made in Sharlayan, as well as a wide selection of imported goods. They also used to sell the questionable prototypes from the various research institutes, but I think that practice has thankfully died out, for the most part. Otherwise, I can think of no better place to stock up on your next big adventure. Am I overselling it? On a more serious note, the next stop on our tour is one which has particular relevance to our ultimate purpose here. We must head back to the Aetheroid Plaza, follow the path north, then climb the stairs up to that imposing building at the very top. This grand structure before you is the Rostra. The name refers to the original public platform erected here, upon which a forum of elected representatives would deliver orations and debate policy. Although the stage has since evolved into council chambers, the nature of the forum and the duties of its members remain largely unchanged. Am I boring you, Raha? You seem awfully distracted. My apologies. From here one can see the entire city spread out below. The vista put me in mind of my arrival in the first. Those who had gathered at the Crystal Tower asked me how they might go about building a new home. Naturally, my answers were all inspired by my knowledge of the finest settlement I could think of, the great city of Sharlayan. And bit by bit, those few buildings grew into a town, a community, the Crystarium. I can almost see its echo. I see. Feel free to come up here whenever you wish. I don't think the councillors would object to you simply enjoying the view. Such memories should be treasured. For now, however, the tour must go on. Our spectacle of sightseeing concludes with the fittingly named Journey's End. Walk down the stairs to the east and continue straight ahead. We have arrived at Journey's End. History tells us that this was where those who put ashore with Archon Neukraft built their first homes. In the present day, it serves as a residential district for the most important officials and the oldest Sharlayan families. You'll see that one mansion is clearly larger than its neighbors. That state belongs to our friends of House Lavalier. All things considered, we should probably keep our distance for the time being. And with that, we bring our little Sharlayan tour to a close. I hope it has proven to be an entertaining and enlightening experience. Now, shall we head directly to the Baldesion Annex? You remember the way, don't you, Raha? Let me think. We head down towards the harbor, cross the bridge to our right, then follow the path below the Aetheryte Plaza? Correct. After you, Sagasite. So I'm guessing that's the level you state. Yep, that's it. As the joyous look on Raha's face has undoubtedly informed you, this is the Baldesion Annex. If you continue up the hill, you will arrive at on the doorstep of Noumenon, but I think we have explored enough for one day. We can take you there another time. Inside with you then. This is from Final Fantasy V. That's so nice. Ah, you were right about the ship then. Hello, Graha. It's nice to see you again. And it's a pleasure to finally meet you, Sagasite. I have heard many a tale of your exploits. Ojika. Tsunjika. It has been an age. Allow me to introduce Ojika Tsunjika, Administration Officer for the students of Baldesion. He oversees the day-to-day business of the Annex. You may recall meeting his cousin Ejika. No. When? Oh yes, Eureka. I have read the initial reports. Quite a shock to hear what's become of the Isle. Do take care if you have the opportunity to rejoin the expedition. This place is like a second home for the students. The Isle of Vol served as our main headquarters, of course, but we often had occasion to visit Sharlayan. Whether to make use of the city's research facilities, attend conferences, or procure supplies from distant shores. And the annex here was built to provide lodgings for our members while we engage in such activities. Ever since our former headquarters, along with the Isle itself, vanished, the Annex has served as our base of operations. And yet it feels so empty. With so many lost to us, our organization is a shell of its former self. The day will come when we will see the students rise again. Okay, so I'm guessing this is just a very cheap wild guess. But there's a zone we don't know anything about, and those floating islands in the sky? Maybe I wonder if that has anything to do with this. But first, we must ensure that the Telephoroi fall. Through that door on the left there is the main hall, where we can discuss our options moving forward. Once everyone arrives, that is. You probably have time to rest before our discussions begin in earnest. And there, my quarters. I have had private quarters prepared for you in the Andron, so please feel free to make yourself at home. Ah, the nap rooms. Perfect for an afternoon dose. Oh, I didn't mean to give you the wrong impression. The chambers are quite well appointed, far more so than some cheap roadside inn, you may be assured. It was simply that we were often so busy with research or exhausted from journeys abroad that we would slip into the Andron just to steal a few winks. And thus they became known among the students as nap rooms, even if many such naps might last well into the following morning. Say the word and I'll be happy to show you to your chamber. Hopefully the others won't be too long in coming. I'll wait for you all in the main hall. There's so many people. Do you have papers pasted on the walls of your room? It was not unusual for occupants to pin up notes or documents and such, and then forget to take them when they went on their merry way. Sometimes it was quite deliberate though. You might see complaints addressed to other members, or a thank you card for the engrossing literature someone left behind. Beloved traditions that I should know better than to dwell upon. If we are to create a future for the students of Baldesion and so many others, we must look to the days ahead. Oh. Good. All the arts from the years. What is this? Oh, I know that. I think I know. This is auth art. Coils. What is this? This I don't remember this. Garuda. Cool. Feeling refreshed and alert? Our colleagues should be wandering in soon, so I suggest we stay here and wait for them to join us.
Pray forgive me. I was delayed.
It's fine, Moriange. We're all here now.
Let's get down to business then, shall we? Come what may, we must prevent the Telophoroi's plans from coming to fruition. At present, I see two paths for gathering the information which may aid us in achieving that goal. The first involves an investigation into the change which has come over Sharlayan, not to mention the recent inscrutable behavior of the Forum. As most of you know, the 99 members of the Forum are elected from the general populace. This alone guarantees a plethora of opinion with regards to foreign policy. The bibliotheques, for example, are a group of conservatives which would have Sharlayan focus on recording history, while remaining entirely uninvolved in the making of it. And at the other extreme, we have advocates for proactive diplomacy and direct intervention. My grandfather Galef was one such member, as was Archon Louisois. Yet despite our diverse factions and philosophies, the recent vote to deny Eorzea's request for assistance. Even more concerning was the fact that many cited other, more pressing duties as justification for their recalcitrance.
Fortuno's refusal in Gridania had those same undertones. 'Twas as if, having stared unblinking into the face of impending doom, it simply turned away to pursue something more important. But what could that possibly be?
I'm starting to wonder if the ruins in Mare Lamentorium have something to do with this.
A mystery indeed, and one which I ask for your help to solve. Our future may depend on it. As for our second potential path, it concerns a request made directly to the students of Baldesion. Our organization was founded primarily to study strange and unexplained phenomena the world over. Mysterious relics and ruins, arcane disturbances, and so forth. Compared to our more isolationist Sharlayan colleagues, we have strong connections overseas, namely with scholars and academics who share our passion for the unknown. The request in question comes from one such acquaintance, Nidana, an alchemist residing in distant Thavnair. Her missive describes the sudden appearance of a tower, and the subsequent summoning of what I can only assume is a lunar primal. In response to this threat, the satrap of Radzat-Han, the individual who governs the city-state, has instructed the alchemists to find a means to deal with the spire.
The artisans of that land are heirs to an ancient tradition, one rather unlike that of their Uldan counterparts. It is possible, nay, probable, that they have gleaned truths unattainable by Eorzea or her Far Eastern allies.
They do, in fact, appear to have a strategy in mind, though it will require further research. To that end, they have requested an introduction to a capable warrior shielded by the blessing of light.
Who could that be?
Assuming we divide our forces to pursue both of Krile's lines of inquiry, then having you join the group heading to Thavnair would seem the obvious choice. But the investigation in Sharlayan is of vital importance as well. Equal, I think, to the Thavnarian one, given that the fate of the world may hinge on the results of both.
Yes, it is quite the quandary. Though it is a great imposition and an altogether too common one, our efforts would be more likely to succeed were you to lead the charge on both fronts. You are indeed our champion. As to which task to tackle first, we will defer to your decision. Let us next decide how everyone else might best be assigned. As for myself, I shall continue what I've begun in Sharlayan. I should also like to steal the services of an Archon or two.
And thereby gain access to a greater range of reading material. I will help with that.
Allow me to offer my assistance. I have some small amount of experience in the field of research.
Alisae and I would also like to help, if you would have us.
Anything to understand even a fraction of what our father and the Forum might be thinking. Of course, the more the merrier.
Right. The rest of us will make the journey to Thavnair. Thoughts?
I passed through Thavnair on my way to infiltrate the Empire, and though I'm not qualified to give a guided tour, I did gain a sense of where things lie.
I'll be happy to have you along then. So for this group, it will be you, me, and Urianger.
How did Estinian pass by?
Give me a moment afterwards, and I'll supply you with all the details of Nadana's request. Consider this hall our rendezvous point once our respective tasks are complete. May our investigations prove fruitful.
Okay, so Radzat-Han is here. Estinian says he passed through here to get to Garlemald. Best not dwell on it. Okay, so I have two quests. The Radzat-Han group or the other group. Okay, so this is the part where I choose the split. I mean, similar to Shadowbringers. Here you can choose which MSQ line you want to follow first. Yes. I'm thinking of following Krile's choice because this is like a more drastic trip. Yeah, I think that's what I want to do. I'm going to go with Krile. Okay, let's go. Hidden the books. Krile is intent on uncovering the reason behind the Forum's inexplicable behavior. An unsettling change has come over Sharlayan, but together we will divine the underlying cause for the Forum's callousness. As I mentioned before, however, questioning the councillors directly is a fruitless endeavor. they seem to have already come to a consensus as to what and how little they are willing to divulge, which is why I began scouring Sharlayan's archive of historical records for any hints of a connection to the final days. Suffice it to say that progress has been slow. There are only so many dusty pages one can skim in a day, but now that I have this band of willing reinforcement, the search should proceed all the swifter. Let us reconvene outside Noumenon, shall we? Exit the annex to the right and you'll find the archives on the western edge of the woods. I can pick both quests? Can I pick both? I have Krile's instructions in hand. If you are ready to set out, then so are we. Having been to Tafnir before, I can travel by Aetheryte. But what of the rest of you? Another sea voyage would waste time we do not have. Krile was of the same mind, and has already secured the aid of the good folk of the Confluence. We'll take ourselves there. The Confluence, thou sayest? I'm afraid so, my friend. Thou wilt recall the hunt for Iceheart, unto whose sanctuary we delivered thee owing to the knowledge of our comrade Moimbrida. Moimbrida was an authority on etherology, a field of study she did embark upon in pursuit of her parents' example. Both are authorities in their own right, and both are researchers at the Confluence. Haven't you gone to see them yet? I attempted to do so earlier, but to my shame, my courage failed me at the last, as it hath the many times I thought to reach out to them after sending that fateful letter. Neither time nor introspection have revealed unto me the words I should speak, and thus have I kept my silence. Whether you come with us or no is your choice and yours alone. If it is too difficult, we'll manage. Thou art kind to say so, but I have no intention of forsaking our cause. I shall go to the Confluence, and I shall face that which hath long been overdue. If it's settled, then let us be off. When we arrive, we should look for a researcher named Kite. My directions were easy enough to follow, I hope. In any case, you stand now before the doors of Noumenon, Sharlayan's grandest collection of books and tomes. This building is actually only an entrance, and one of many at that, for the archives of Noumenon extend deep beneath the surface like the roots of a tree. The vast halls of the great Gubal library pale in comparison to Noumenon's endless maze of subterranean chambers. Gubal was also Sharlayan, now that I think about it. Any citizen of Sharlayan is free to enter and peruse its shelves. Well, most of its shelves. Only Archons are afforded access to certain restricted vaults. I have dispatched Ishtola and Raha to investigate those. Meanwhile, Alisae and Alphino will help me continue my search through the stacks open to the general public. Your status presents more of a problem. As a non-citizen, you are only permitted to browse the first floor here at the entrance. Even so, there should be a number of books which touch upon Sharlayan history or foreign policy. Your task will be to find and study the relevant publications. I promise you, working knowledge of those subjects will make it far easier to spot the sorts of clues we're looking for. Let us be about it, shall we? I have told the others to meet us at the stone benches over there once they have found some promising tomes. Happy reading! The title on the spine reads The Story of Sharlayan. Read the book? Yes. Long, long ago, on an island in the Northern Sea, there lived a Roganin man by the name of Noumenon. Noumenon was a student of astrology, and he divined that a flood of terrifying proportions would soon sweep over the lands of Eorzea. So it was that he built a gigantic ship, assembled a crew, and set sail for that imperiled realm. The flood arrived as foretold, and to their horror, the strangely churning waters drove the people towards the ocean. It was there, however, that Newcraft's crew hauled them aboard his ark, but the danger had not passed. A towering wave approached, threatening to smash the vessel to pieces. With only moments to spare, Newcraft wove a mighty spell of teleportation and shifted the entire ship to safety atop Abadathia's spine. Oh! Oh! Refugees from the surrounding regions huddled there alongside them. But it was not long before disputes over the dwindling supply of food led to violence and bloodshed. Saddened by the sight, Newcraft gathered to him his crew and his grateful passengers, and abandoned the ark to those reddened peaks. They journeyed to the coast where they built a new ship, intent upon returning to the northern seas. They landed on the beach of an island and settled upon that very spot. That settlement prospered and grew, and in time it became the city of Sharlayan we live in to this day. Nice to know where that ship came from. Stewards of Wisdom. During the chaos of the Sixth Umbral Calamity, Archon Newcraft, founder of Sharlayan, bore witness to the madness and savagery of men brought to the brink of despair. Upon raising a settlement on an island in the north and empty, he instructed his people thus: renounce the ways of war, and pursue enlightenment through knowledge and reason. The Sharlayans took to heart the words of their savior and thenceforth served as stewards of wisdom. Upon a foundation of accumulated learning, they built a homeland unlike any other nation. Unlike any other, a nation born from strength of minds rather than strength of arms. With knowledge of economics came shrewd trading. With knowledge of agriculture came bountiful crops. Engineering brought wells and sewers, ending squabbles over water. Wealth of expertise could be bartered for wealth in coin, and the more their wisdom spread throughout the world, the more mankind as a whole would thrive. And so it was that no matter the trials and tribulations of the age, the citizens of Sharlayan would live by their founders' teachings. For the sake of a better tomorrow, for the sake of a brighter star, they would skew the tools of war and with knowledge deliver the world. Wait, let me click it. Damn it. Voice of a Growing City. In the years which followed the founding of Sharlayan, civic policy and other matters of import were decided at the Ecclesia, a public forum at which every citizen was eligible to speak. As the city's population grew, however, this format became increasingly impractical. The larger number of participants gave rise to even longer debates, resulting in significant delays of vital resolutions. Various measures were introduced in an attempt to curtail protracted discussions, but in the year 201 of the 6th Astral Era, it was ultimately decreed that Sharlayan would transition to a new form of governance. The nation would now be led by a body of 99 members, citizens chosen from among their peers by means of a nationwide vote. Thus was the Forum as we know it today conceived and created. Sorry, were you waiting long? I wanted to make sure I had borrowed at least a few promising volumes. Alphino and Krile should also be along shortly. I was delayed in a similar fashion. As far as I could see, no titles in the Archon stacks mentioned the final days specifically, so we have no choice but to start with the tangentially relevant tomes, if they are even that. At present, the plan is to skim through as quickly as we dare, and share our discoveries as we make them. It would have been nice to invite everyone to the state, plenty of comfortable places to read, and a ready supply of hot tea. Oh, I was always quite fond of reading outside. But it's not about the little pleasures, is it? You miss your home. It's been difficult. After our arrival, we managed to speak with one of the family servants and ask how things were. It seems our dear father has instructed the staff that even if Alfinod and I were to return to Sharlayan, we were not to be allowed across the threshold. Harsh. A harsh measure indeed. I hope that our efforts to understand his position, and that of the Forum, will perhaps lead to a reconciliation. We'll mend this rift one day, I'm certain of it. And what of you, Raha? Have you been to visit your family, or do they not live here in the city? Well, my situation is also somewhat complicated. I was raised in Sharlayan, yes, but I was born rather further away. In the southern regions of Ilsabard, in fact. For generations, my people have dwelt in Corvos, the coastal region opposite the island of Thavner. The Allagans founded a city in that fertile land, and by ship brought in the subjugated tribes of the Mikotes to serve as laborers. Of course, the massive earthquakes of the Fourth Umber Calamity brought an end to the Empire's reign, and when the Fifth Calamity froze the sea solid, many of the tribes still living in Corvos braved the journey back to Eorzea. Corvos, this is new, I think. My ancestors, however, chose to remain, that they might prevent the remnants of Allagan technology from being misused. Isn't Corvos under Garlean rule? For the past 50 years, yes. Some semblance of local culture remains, as is the case for most imperial provinces, but Garlemald renamed the region Locus Amoenus. Locus Amoenus. When I was a boy, a nearby town came under the jurisdiction of an illustrious imperial family, the nobles of House Darnus. Darnus? House Darnus demonstrated a singular interest in Allagan civilization, and so my tribe was forced to consider a plan of action. For some time already, voices have been raised in favor of abandoning our ancient customs. After all, the Allagan eye no longer passed to our eldest children as reliably as it once had. Fear of discovery eventually tipped the scales, and the decision was made to bury our ties to the knowledge and traditions of Allag. As the last child born with the Allagan eye, I was given over to the custody of friends in the students of Valdesian, who had me registered as Sharlayan citizen. I never even considered. Forgive me, it was an unkind question. Even Thangred was taken in by Archon Louisoix, was he not? Stories of adopted waifs and rescued orphans are more common among Sharlayans than you might think. Yet, regardless of our origins, we are all provided with an equal opportunity to learn, and with sufficient perspicacity, we outsiders can even earn the vaunted title of Archon. This is exactly why I have such love for this country, and why I wish it to remain a nation of which its citizens can be proud. Hear, hear. Another good reason to get at the bottom of the Forum's stubbornness, aside from the trifling matter of our impending doom. Excuse us while we try to make some headway into this book's site. More company should be arriving any moment now. We have returned with our selections. Although I must say, the pickings were quite slim indeed. Mistress Krile had already flicked through every history book devoted to disasters, and more than a few which barely made mention of them. As such, we will be looking into research papers on the Umbral calamities, as well as articles written by prominent forum members. Perhaps their knowledge of the final days comes from an unexpected source. Speaking of which, may I ask you a few questions related to the final days? I'm the only one here who didn't witness the events of Omorod firsthand, and fear I may be overlooking critical details. My thanks. Now, where to begin? First things first, what kind of phenomena did the ancients encounter as the final days grew nigh? A complete destabilization of creation magics, primals of unrivaled power was summoned from the ether, the worst kind of phenomenon you can imagine. I think it was this one. I think. Yes, the unfolding catastrophe wrought havoc on all manner of life. The chaos extended to the ancients themselves, causing their powers of creation to spiral out of control. Fear and despair manifested in terrible, tangible fashion. Meteors raining from the sky, fire erupting from the ground, indescribable abominations prowling the streets. That more or less aligns with my understanding. If only the odds of creation had survived until the present day, we may have had something substantial to analyze. To the best of our knowledge, however, those techniques were not preserved or passed on. Y'shtola surmises that the closest known magic is that of the summoning rituals promulgated by the Asians. Was there aught else of note which heralded the approach of the final days? The entire star was engulfed by disaster all at once. They say it began with a keening sound from the land itself. Athena, you can answer this one. Maybe this one sounds unique? Ah yes, the Amorotines spoke of it, didn't they? We never did hear this sound ourselves, of course, thrust as we were into the midst of the madness. But it seems that each and every one of the catastrophes was preceded by this ominous noise. Eventually it resounded all across the star, and not even Omorot was spared. So the ground was crying out, you say? To be considered the harbinger of doom, it must have been quite distinctive, and probably quite loud. I'll have to speak with one of Noumenon's Mamets, and ask after any books which make mention of such a sound. Last but not least, would you describe how the ancients sought to quell this unprecedented calamity? What definitive action did they take? They summoned Zodiark. It knocked Alamon. They summoned Zodiark. Yes, with Elidibus serving as his heart, so many gave themselves in sacrifice to bring him into being. We do not know exactly how Zodiark brought salvation to the star, only that by his godlike will were the laws of nature set aright. Then, once the ballast was redressed, the ancients offered up a further sacrifice to heal the ravages of the final days. Lives sprouted anew, and it was these fledgling souls that they intended to render unto Zodiark, a trade that would have allowed them to resurrect the shades of loved ones absorbed by the primal. Or might have, had Venat and her fellows not manifested their opposition in the form of Hydaelyn. Thank you, both of you, for the detailed review. I feel much more confident now in my understanding of events. With all that freshly in mind, it does make me wonder what the Telephoroi truly mean when they speak of bringing back the final days. We have seen what they're doing with those towers of theirs. Is forcing people to summon primals a kind of catalyst? Are they attempting to mirror the conditions caused by unstable creation magics? Or are they simply using the final days as a figure of speech? A convenient metaphor for the scale of destruction they plan to unleash? But this is all just pointless conjecture at this stage. Let us return to our attention to the forum, shall we? We should keep an eye out for Y'shtola, but this time we began studying this research bit. This time. Many forum members are also researchers or professors. If they know aught of the final days, then that knowledge might surface in their writing. That is my hope anyway. What else do I know of Corvus? Precious little, I'm afraid. I have not returned since Master Galuf first brought me here. I can tell you that Corvosi rebels still seek to slip the yoke of the Imperial Masters, though the fighting is far less fierce than it once was. Oh, and they have carpets, flying carpets. The legends are quite extraordinary. There are others better suited to poring over the old history books, so I thought I would try my luck with more recent events, if I can find anything to better inform the forum's baffling behavior. It really is comforting to have all these dedicated assistants on hand. Right then, enough chatting, more reading. I'm the last, am I? Well, my extended research of the Archon stacks produced 1 or 2 possibly useful books, but it wouldn't get your hopes up. If you recall, Urianger learns of the source reflections from the Gerun oracles. For its potential to cause panic and confusion, that tome was deemed apocrypha and sealed away in the Great Kubal Library. It is even less likely that knowledge of the unsundered world, not to mention the horrors of the final days, would be left sitting on a shelf for any curious scholar to find. It stands to reason then that my colleagues, be they archons or councillors, should perforce be largely ignorant of the subject. Yet when you confronted Master Folsinaut with knowledge of the Telephoroi and their machinations, he scoffed at the suggestion that they posed a threat. He seemed adamant that the forum would know if the final days were truly upon us, which only supports the conclusion that whatever privileged wisdom is guiding the forum's behavior, it is being kept secret from the rest of the nation. Not that I mean to excuse myself from reading duty. Whether they contain mention of the final days or no, these books could yet hold something of value. You weren't thinking of leaving, were you? There's plenty of work for everyone. I have found naught of interest so far. I think Isola might be right about not getting our hopes up. Thank you for your help, but I think I can manage the rest without your assistance. If I were you, I would steal a few quiet moments for myself. Oh dear, you look exhausted. But what about your studies? Were you able to find any books on the subjects I mentioned? Then the day was well spent. Should you wish to read them again, a Mamet at the referent desk will point you in the right direction. For the moment though, I suggest you take a well-deserved rest. We might be occupied with our research for quite some time. A seat at the last stand. Alisae appears in desperate need of a study break. Ready for a tea break, Sagasite? I know I am. Honestly, my neck and shoulders are going to calcify if I don't stretch my legs and walk around for a bit. You know the last stand down in the harbour, don't you? Come and meet me near the outside tables and I'll treat you to their coffee. It's quite good. Okay, there's an ether right there. As busy as ever, I see. How very Sharlayan and no other gourmet cafe has sprung up to compete for customers. Actually, this crowd gives me an idea. Before we place an order, why don't we ask a few questions and gauge the mood of the city? I'm interested to hear what the average citizen has to say about the Telephoroi. We might even learn something new. Worth a try, don't you think? Okay, I need to speak with people, it seems. Hildois. Yes, I don't believe I've had the pleasure. Pray excuse the interruption, but we were hoping you might share your thoughts on the Telephoroi and their unconscionable plans. My goodness, if it isn't young Miss Levelier. My apologies, but I work in the offices of the forum, and if word reached Master Folsinaut that I was helping you... I see. We're sorry to have bothered you. Pirondiar. What is it? Can a man not enjoy a moment of private respite? If you're looking to share a table, then I respectfully request that you look elsewhere. You misunderstand, sir. We were simply wondering if you knew of the Telephoroi. These enemies of peace have promised an end to all we hold dear and... Wait, you're that house Levelier girl, aren't you? And this woman with you is obviously a foreigner. I had heard you were disowned for helping outsiders indulge their barbaric whims, and here you are giving truth to the rumor. I'll thank you to leave me be. I've naught to say to the likes of you. Well, I must apologize. 'Twas foolish me to expect an ounce of civility from one so enlightened. Come. Welcome, madame. What can I offer you today? Wait, is that Mistress Alisae I see there? My word, how long has it been? Far too long. Meet Deacon, the owner of the last stand. I used to frequent his cafe on occasion, in between lessons at the studium. That seems like an age ago now. I remember hearing that you and Master Alphino had set sail for Eosia, but then you never came back. Lately there's been gossip about your father disowning you, the pair of you. Everything alright at home? It's complicated, and I hadn't expected complete strangers to be so familiar with our situation quite so quickly. Everyone has an opinion, it seems. Well, it is House Lavalier. No matter how discreet Master Fochenold may have been, news of your family's doings never stays secret for long. Things being what they are, what brings you back to the city now, of all times? We have questions, and Old Sharlayan has the answers. Tell me, Master Deacon, have you heard anything about an apocalypse called the Final Days? What, like the end of the world? Nothing like that, I'm afraid. And that's what you're here to find? Information on this apocalypse? Yes, whatever we can learn. Unfortunately, your patrons appear to be unwilling to speak with me. I wish there was more I could do to help. But maybe there is. You're a visitor to Sharlayan, are you not? Then few will know your face. We should be able to pass you off as a server with none the wiser. We just finished preparing a few orders. Strike up some friendly conversation while you're setting down the food, and you might just get the answers you're looking for. Not a bad idea, I had to ask, but what do you think? I have done lesser things. That's the spirit. Pay attention now, and I'll explain where each of these dishes needs to go. The tea set is for a chatty group sitting by the water's edge. The omelette is for one of our regulars, a Highlander by the name of Gisla. She's sitting at an outside table with a friend of hers. Behind them you should see a Mikote gentleman. He ordered the oven-baked lobster. Got all that? If you're not sure, just ask and I'll explain again. Good luck! Okay, I think I remember. You work here, don't you? I'm still waiting on that charming little tea set. The tea set. Oh, my tea set. Lovely, thank you. The Tale of a Who? I'm sorry, I've never heard of them. Or their Final Days. My friends and I are somewhat uninformed when it comes to current events. Now, if you wanted to hear about ritual arcane practices of the 6th Astral Era, common or esoteric, then I would be happy to talk your ear off. Ah, finally! 2, 4, 6, 8, let's begin, no time to waste. What? The Tale of Roy? Ah yes, I remember seeing the name in the latest Gazette. That and some grand claim about the end of days, some old senseless warmongering. When will these old fools grow tired of spilling each other's blood? Best stay out of it, I say. The forum made the right choice, and I fully support our decision to remain neutral. At last, the oven-baked lobster is mine. You have no idea how long I've scrimped and saved and suffered to afford to this heavenly dish. The Final Days? This is the first I've heard of it. Although that would explain why my friend has been rushed off his feet. It must be a busy time to be a gleaner. What's a gleaner? You don't know what a gleaner is? They're collectors of a sort. Travel the world procuring things that we haven't got here in Sharlayan. Priceless books, unusual live specimens, and so forth. So named for those folks who trail after the reapers in the fields, picking up every grain which was missed. By all accounts, gleaning is a most meticulous and demanding profession. If these Telophoroi make good on their audacious threats, then many uncatalogued rarities could be lost forever. Why else would the gleaners be buzzing about in such frenzy? Watch the harbor and you'll see what I mean. They're carting loads in from the docks all day. It's never been this hectic before. Not like this. Any trouble with the customers? Were you able to get anyone talking? Interesting. They seem unaware of the final days, aside from whatever vague news the cassettes are printing. Even Dickon had nothing to offer, and he's the best source of gossip in the city. If the forum does have secret knowledge, then they have done an impressive job of ensuring no one whispers it in the wrong ear. In any case, thank you for playing the part so well. Here, that cup of coffee I promised. But let's enjoy our drink somewhere else, shall we? Maybe behind the peristyle, away from the gossips and their waging tongues. What's the peristyle? Yes, this should do nicely. Out of the wind and out of sight.
When our father disowned us, I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
Oh, you can bet your ass Square Enix is at some point going to sell these.
It wasn't until much later that his words began to sink in, that I began to feel the weight of what it meant. Do you remember when the decision was made to come to Sharlayan? Graham said that the Forum was determined to keep us in the dark, and that Father's venomous performance was part of that strategy, to keep us at arm's length. Perhaps it was. Father argued with Grandfather on many occasions, but never with such dismissive contempt. And when he demanded what justifies the sacrifices we make in war, neither did Alphino, I know, but never for one moment did I believe we had made the wrong choice. So all I could do was fume silently. It was only afterwards that I realized how childish I had been, how being stubborn and self-righteous must run in the family. If I could have just mustered a civil response, then things might have turned out differently. They must be ferrying goods to Labyrinthos. A vast complex beneath the island. Sharlayan is famous for archiving knowledge from around the world. Well, that knowledge is not preserved exclusively in dusty tomes and desiccated samples. Our living library, comprised of all manner of flora and fauna, is housed and studied within that underground facility. Still, that did seem to be an unusually large shipment. When I lived here, it was rare to even see such cargo transported by boat. Wait! Didn't you hear something in the last stand about the gleaners coming and going more than usual?
Yes.
I think they're the ones we saw manning those boats. And gleaners answer to the Forum. If the appearance of the Telophoroi prompted this sudden burst of activity, then Labyrinthos may hold a clue as to what the Forum is planning.
A labyrinthine descent. Alisae is excited to share your revelations. We should tell the others what we have learned about the Gleaners. Go on ahead to Noumenon, and I'll join you for a moment. Master Dickon will want his cups back. Is that coffee I smell? Did I miss the tea break? Where is Alisae? I thought she was with you. My loyal assistant returns. There is a lexicon on the first floor that I need you to... Ah, you have found something, haven't you? Welcome back, Saga. So you've been for a walk and cleared your head, have you? Not exactly. We did some impromptu investigating and turned up information on the Gleaners. It makes sense. The Gleaners take their requests directly from institutions and bureaucrats, but as you say, they ultimately answer to the Forum. A sudden and significant increase in Gleaner traffic and in cargo, it certainly gives the impression of an overarching plan being put into motion. Let us see what theory we can build from the facts. As Stola observed earlier, Noumenon's archives appear to contain no information concerning the final days. Coupled with what Sagasite and Alisae learned at last stand, we can be reasonably sure that most Sharlayans know nothing of that particular period of ancient history. Yet my father and his colleagues are not only familiar with the final days, but are also somehow certain that the destruction being perpetrated by the Telephoroi is wholly unlike these apocalyptic events. Moreover, the Forum claims to be so occupied by a duty of such pressing importance that they saw fit to unanimously deny Eorzea's request for aid. And now the Gleaners, official agents of the state, have been mobilized on an unprecedented scale. I do not think it a stretch to conclude that the Gleaners' recent activities are in service to the Forum's secretive ends. In which case, our next course of action seems obvious. We visit Labyrinthos and assess the situation for ourselves, and if we're lucky, the Gleaners will be far more receptive to our questions. Fine idea. What should we expect down there? Anything would be better than burying my head in another dusty book. What should we expect down there? Oh, I would hate to spoil the surprise. As for myself, there are a few more subjects I should like to research. I may join you later, but feel free to leave behind your borrowed books and be on your way. I'll see to it that each is returned to its proper place. That would be a great help, thank you, Raha. Let's head down the stairs over there and I'll show you where the entrance is. Where? Labyrinthine descent. Ready? Labyrinthos is not far from here, but you may find the path a bit disorienting. I'll take the lead, so stay close. Off we go then. It's pleasant here amongst the trees, but we really should move along. Now we run. Try to keep up. Keep to the path, straight ahead. We cross this bridge. I'm nearby that Aetheroid I didn't attune to earlier, but it's so far away, please. The Rostra. Not far now. Oh, please wait. Here we are, through this door and down the stairs. You did remember to attune to the shark back there, didn't you? It will make your life much easier if you need to come back in a hurry. Otherwise, we should keep moving. A chocobo keep. Welcome to the Hall of Artifice. Should you be looking to descend to Labyrinthos, the lift here will take you there. I have not been to Labyrinthos in the longest time. Even as a student, my visits were few and far between. You didn't take a wrong turn into the rostra there, did you? I doubt the forum would take kindly to you barging into a private session. How did the forum learn of the final days, and exactly how much do they know? More to the point, what do they intend to do about it? Hopefully the answer to at least one of those questions lies below. We're all here now, yes? I have taken the liberty of securing permission for our group's descent. Right, everyone onto the lift and down we go.